The new Attorney General is playing fast and loose with the Mueller report. Now, it's still secret, and all we've gotten so far is a 4-page summary from the Justice Department, a 4-page summary that Barr wrote. But the Mueller report is over 300 pages long. I'd like to know how, in 24 hours, if that's what it was, maybe it was 48, how do you condense a 300, 400-page report to a 4-page summary and then expect everybody to just say, oh, okay, thank you? Well, now Trump is doing that, and these Republican apologists for this Nazi, they're doing it too. I don't think any of the Democrats yet have rolled over to have their bellies scratched with this bullshit. But it is bullshit. Barr wrote to Congress this past Sunday offering what he called, quote, the principal conclusions, end quote, of Mueller's 22-month-long report, including, of course, I mean, the main thing, the thing that caused Trump to get all ecstatic, as he is tonight somewhere in Michigan, that Mueller had not found that the Trump campaign had taken part in a conspiracy to undermine the election. I can't, I'm sorry, I can't go there. I just can't. I mean, I can't pull myself into believing that. I just simply can't. If you can, okay. However, even though Barr said that Mueller's report said there was no collusion, to quote Trump, Mueller or Barr notably declined to publicly disclose how long this report is, probably for fear that people would say, you've condensed a 400-page report into 4 pages? Are you fucking kidding us? And you're going to conclude? See, Mueller hasn't concluded anything that we know of. Barr has. William Barr has, not Robert Mueller. The total of 300-plus pages, or 400, suggests that Mueller went well beyond the kind of bare-bones summary required by Justice Department regulations when these types of reports are turned in. It also raises the questions, as the New York Times says, it raises the question about what Mr. Barr might have left out of the 4 pages he sent to Congress. Oh, gee, gosh, I wonder. Anyway, answering the questions that Barr's bullshit screams to have answered is going to likely prove difficult for Democrats in Congress and the public. I mean, we don't count. Barr has indicated to 2 congressional chairmen that it's probably going to take weeks to redact all the shit that needs to be redacted out of the report until the Justice Department deems it suitable for public consumption. You satisfied with that? I'm goddamn sure not. But what can I do? What can you do? Nothing. Justice Department officials, the Times says, including some from the Attorney General's office, also plan to examine the report before sending anything to Congress, any documents to Congress, for possible material that the president could claim as privileged. You get the feeling we're being fucked royally? Yeah, so do I. That's according to a department official. Well, we're going to go through everything and see if there's anything in there or redact everything in there that Trump might be able to claim as privileged material. Shit. If the Justice Department were to decide that certain aspects of Mueller's report are subject to executive privilege, Democrats in Congress could challenge that assertion and force Trump to actually claim the privilege and risk a court challenge if he does so. So what Trump has done, Trump finally got his Roy Cohn. Remember when he said, "Where's my Roy Cohn?" It goddamn sure wasn't that little mushmouth Jefferson Beauregard Sessions III from Alabama. It wasn't him. It's William Barr. Now you have to remember, William Barr is not the moderate or squeaky clean or legitimate or honest or decent Republican that he was sold to the American people. No. He's the one that convinced George Herbert Walker Bush to issue pardons to all the criminals from the Iran-Contra affair, the belligerent bastards led by Oliver North, who challenged the full force U.S. government to even dare to find him responsible, much less guilty, of anything regarding Iran-Contra. Oliver North even said proudly that he made the decision to sell TOW missiles to Iran. Democrats who, like all the lawmakers, haven't seen the report, have already all but accused Barr of covering up damaging information that the report probably contains. They've specifically focused on an apparent difference between the views of Trump's Roy Cohn, that would be William Barr, and Robert Mueller, special counsel, on whether Trump obstructed justice. Oh, how could he? A good, honest, straightforward, conservative Christian fuckhead like Donald Trump obstruct justice? No. So Democrats have demanded that Barr, the Attorney General, make the full report and all the evidence public. But we don't live in a place where you and I are privy to information concerning the criminal activities of a piece of shit like Donald Trump and all the people around him. Now, if this were Barack Obama that this report had been issued on, what do you think the Republicans would be screaming? If you're old enough, think back to the end of the 1990s when Bill Clinton's, the report from Ken Starr, the special prosecutor, on Bill Clinton's perjury to cover up the fact that his girlfriend gave him a blowjob in the White House. Think back to what Barr did. I'm sorry, what Ken Starr did, Starr, Barr, whatever. Ken Starr, when he was finished with the report, dumped all of it onto the internet. Every fucking word. All the salaciousness, everything. The big difference being that Bill Clinton, of course, was a Democrat. Chuck Schumer, the Democratic leader in the Senate, said in a speech on the chamber floor, quote, for Mr. Barr to quickly issue a 4-page report in his attempt to try to exonerate Trump. And now the delay of over 300-page report written by Mueller so the American people, we senators and congressmen can see what is written, has too much of the odor of political expediency to help the man who appointed him, Donald Trump. You think, Chuck? Now, the Republicans, for their part, of course, they just totally trust William Barr. Oh, my God. Oh, William, you speak the truth. Republicans indicate they believe he will make appropriate judgments about what should and should not be shared. It's fucking unbelievable. But we knew this was going to happen. You and I knew this. We knew this when Barr was questioned by members of the Senate Judiciary Committee for his appointment, his confirmation. And this greasy little fucker would not give a straightforward answer. You remember that? This is unbelievable stuff. And this new guesstimate on how long, that's all it is, how long the report is, came about a week after a senior Justice Department official told reporters that the report was, quote, comprehensive. What's that, 300 pages, 400, 500? I even heard 700. What is it? Gerald Nadler, Democrat of New York, representative, chairman of the Judiciary Committee, added the description, very substantial report, after he talked with Barr last night, although neither he nor any other member of Congress has seen it, and he declined to give a page count. Andrew Napolitano, I'm sure you've seen him. He's a judge or some bullshit on Fox News, and a favorite of the orange asshole, caused a stir yesterday when he said multiple times on the air that the report was 700 pages. Carrie Kupek, a Justice Department spokeswoman, confirmed the length of the document after the New York Times reported it, 700 pages, citing American officials who spoke anonymously, of course, because they were not authorized to discuss details of the report. So William Barr had told Mr. Nadler on their Wednesday call that the report was more than 300 pages long, according to Ms. Kupek. Well, 700 is longer than 300, isn't it? Yeah. Other reports from government investigators in the past have been lengthy. The independent counsel Kenneth Starr, his report on Clinton was 445 pages, and it had to be trucked to Capitol Hill back in 1998. The 9/11 Commission ran 567 pages. I don't know. I smell the stench of cover-up, and it really is sickening. Even the Justice Department Inspector General seems to have written more in one of his investigations than Mueller. Michael Horowitz released a report last summer on the FBI's handling of an investigation into Hillary Clinton's use of a private email server that preoccupied Congress. You remember how many hearings did the bastards have? Not on Benghazi, on this. Anyway, Horowitz's report was 568 pages. By contrast, if you want some contrast, the so-called roadmap of Watergate, the roadmap on why and how to begin hearings on articles of impeachment of Richard Nixon, that was sent to Congress directly by the grand jury investigating Nixon and his associates, and it was only 62 pages. It was sent to lawmakers in 1974, and the court report was not unsealed by a federal judge and made public until last year. But back then, there were Republicans, I know you're going to find this hard to believe, there were Republicans who kept their fucking religions to themselves and who believed in the rule of law, unlike these dirty dogs who now claim to be Republicans. These Republicans don't give a shit about the rule of law. The Republicans back in the mid-70s did. There were some honorable people among the Republicans in the Senate back then. There aren't any longer. Not one. Mueller, according to the New York Times, probably collected and generated hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of pages of paper in his investigation. And the Democrats in Congress have made it clear they would eventually like access to all of them. Maybe 30 years from now, maybe 40. But the Justice Department could have good reason to block the release of some of that voluminous amount of papers that Mueller put together in his investigation, leaving it once again to the courts to determine who sees what. But you and I are not entitled, for a very simple reason, and I hope you get this. This is not our government. Do you understand that? I mean, does that fucking sink into your head at all? It took a long time for it to sink into mine. I don't know why. I'm not a stupid man. But I continued to insist on believing that the government of the United States worked on behalf of everybody in the United States. I know, very naive. And that was so not true where it concerned people of color. I understand. But the effort was being made, wasn't it? Was it? In the Justice Department? I honestly believe for the longest time, maybe it was just another curse of white privilege. I don't know anymore. But I did retain, okay, if not the belief, at least the hope that the government was working on my behalf, because I voted to put people in office and I paid taxes to pay them. Oh. But that's not the case anymore. I still vote. Here in Georgia, it's meaningless, totally meaningless, my vote. No, it is. Because the way the Secretary of State, former, who is now the governor of Georgia, completely fucked up the voting lists, the voter rolls, and took away from 700,000 Georgians, not felons, 700,000 Georgians, the right to vote. Just took it from them. And then he got elected governor. So I realized my vote is meaningless. My taxes, I guess they still have meaning. It's the money that's used to provide weaponry to the Saudis so the Saudis can commit genocide against the Houthi people in Yemen, among other things. But this is not my country anymore, and it's not yours, truth seeker. If you voted for Trump and you think it's your country, oh, are you fucking insane? If you voted for anybody except Trump, thinking that you were going to make a stance for democracy, you're pretty crazy too, like me. Because that's what I thought. I thought, well, I'm not going to vote for Trump. I'm going to vote for Hillary Clinton because even though a lot of her policies I may not care for, I can't turn my country over to a fascist, a white supremacist, a man who in any other circumstances would be a member of the KKK. I can't do it. But it was all for nothing, because between Trump and his Russian buddies on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all this other happy horse shit that everybody is so focused on of late, the election was decided before I even went into the fucking booth to vote, a vote that was meaningless. So, here we are, waiting for a report that you and I are never going to see, the results of which, if it were made public, would be probably all the evidence needed to impeach and remove this filthy son of a bitch from the presidency. Now, the only hope left, and I'm wondering how this is going to work out. I just have a suspicion some really ugly shit's going to happen. But that's the Southern District of New York, the federal courts in the Southern District of New York, that issued a 16-count indictment against this stumblebum Manafort immediately after he was sentenced to another 4.5 years in jail or whatever the fuck it was. The investigations going on in the Southern District of New York that apparently involved Trump and his fucked up adult children, other than Tiffany. She's not in on this. And all the laws that Trump broke with just as easily as he went and got a drink of water. The laws weren't written for Trump. The laws are written for you and me. The laws are not written for people like Trump. So here we are. Hey, Truth Seekers, Mike Malloy here on the Progressive Voices Network. We've got a deal for you. You can now subscribe to our new 1-hour audio-video combination Malloycast for only $29 a year. But you have to act fast. This deal ends on tax day, April 15th. Since we're without any business managers now, 100% of your support goes directly to maintaining our nightly campfire. Visit MikeMalloy.com to renew or to subscribe. And thank you for all the ways you keep it lit.